Hello, everybody. I'm Wendy Chong, and I have Talia over here, my partner in
Hello.
crime. We hope you guys loved the first video. This is our second video, and we thought, what a way to kick off the second video with storytelling. And I know that this is something that I've been saying to Talia, you know, go
Since
get
you
your
met
portfolio
me,
like the last, like the last video, build up your portfolio. When you build up your portfolio, now you have a story to tell. What better way to kick the second video than this topic? What do you think, Tanya?
oh, I'm so excited that you are going to start off with this because every day you tell me, tell your story, make your story. I,
So I looked it up. I know there are many definitions of what a storytelling is, and I looked it up to Wikipedia. Wikipedia says storytelling describes the social and cultural activity of sharing stories, sometimes with improvisation, theatrics, or embellishment. Crucial elements of stories and storytelling include plot, characters, and narrative point of view. And the reason I wanted to define is, some call Wikipedia as an official definition, but I think storytelling, you can define your own style of storytelling and the way you use the storytelling, the way I'm going to go through some example of how I use the storytelling for my personal, story or in a business context. And it's very, very effective. And at least I was told that now they're saying there's a pyramid now, right? A lot of the hard skills, the technical skills, the machine learning, and all these technical skills that you all learn in school. But at the top of the pyramid is now the storytelling. What sets you apart from everybody else that has all these degrees and all these qualifications, but sets you apart is that story that you're going to tell and the journey that you took to build that foundation of that technical skills, right? And the storytelling connects with the audience. It connects with the person who's interviewing with you. It connects with the business person who's deciding whether they should buy your product and services. Is how I use it, and it's so compelling. And at least I've been giving feedback from my team and my bosses that you can tell a technical story, you can tell a business story, and you can tell, and that's something that, and I researched a little bit, right? That when you tell a story, there's a certain chemical functions going on in your brain. It's called dopamines are being released in your brain, believe it or not, or in your system that helps, the person who's listening to your story connects with you and like emotional connection with you,
yeah.
and that they remember your story through, they may not remember what the specifics of the technical elements was, but they remembered that Wendy told a story, and I want to keep coming back to her again and again
I,
because I love her story.
I remember when I first met you, and we were at the Keen conference, and you said, make sure you tell your story. I remember the first thing you said was, go up to someone and say, hi, I'm Talia, and this is my story, so they remember you. And
Yeah,
I remember I emailed you and I was like, hi, it's Talia. And you were like, I remember. Just
absolutely.
because I told you a little bit about myself and where I come from and my story. And you immediately remember my face and like where I
Yeah,
came from. And you have
yeah.
to,
And that was something that I also shared with, and I hope you didn't mind, over the holiday, I had some family members visited me and I was bragging about this website that we got on launch. And he's like, you can't believe you have to meet this young woman. Her name is Talia. And, we just had instant connection, whatever it was. Your story and my story connected. And I have a similar story like yours, Talia, too, that it brings back a lot of memories and how I had to go through, remind me of my younger self, hearing your story, and it has such a profound impact on me that I want to do something back for, back to the community and back to women that are up and coming. I want to say you guys are the rising stars, right? That can help change the society that is today, right? And what better way to change that than the new generation that are coming, right? And I think you guys are the future that will help change whatever the state that we are in. Obviously, it's not working, right? We all are going through this COVID-19, and and I think in my mind, just talking to you and doing this video, I am very optimistic about the future that we can change, right? We can change the future.
But this is
So
part
that's
of
why.
our journey, right? And our story. And which brings me to probably our first question is, how can I tell my story during COVID-19? Like, what
So
what should I
going
do?
back to the first video, right? Like COVID, you don't want to. You take this time. This is an opportunity, right? It's almost like you know, you 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 don't have to go places. A lot of us, like, our weekends are very busy, our weekdays are very busy with work. But then now you really sit back and look at, you do have time, right? You're not going to, our national pastime, like go shopping. I love to go shopping. I wish I can. But now that we really can't visit, a little bit now, but you can't really, go shopping full steam. Why don't you take the time and figure out, like, build up your portfolio? How did you imagine the world tomorrow? You could write a story about it. Like, what are different problems that you can solve today with all the tools that you have today? But what if you can imagine if you have this? Wouldn't shopping be so much better? Like, you can dream up ideas and write them down. Like, a girlfriend of mine over the weekend, I was just talking about on the phone. How can we, go to the restaurant? I mean, we all love to go out to eat, and we all love to, have a glass of wine with our friends, right? How can we change the way we dine tomorrow? And imagine there is limitless opportunities, right? Imagine that. And, I think women are so well equipped to solve some of these
Oh yeah.
problems. I mean, this is just like, take this time to write them down, write your ideas down, and don't be like, to me, I don't want to be like a victim of COVID-19. I'm going to do something about it. Every day I wake up, I have a purpose. Every day I wake up, I write in my journal, what are the crazy ideas that I can come up with? And you never know. I mean, whenever there's a hardship, there's always opportunity, right? So I always look at it, the glass half full rather than the glass half empty. Don't be, like a victim. And when you try to write these things down, and these are many different things that you want to go do, and when the world open up and, employers starts to hire, and, hopefully you guys will graduate soon, and, your prospective employer is going to look at, wow, this is such a very driven young woman, because she's very, very she persevered, and she just didn't wait for someone else to tell you what to do. You are already in a leadership role without even thinking that you don't, you're a leader, right? You don't need a title to be a leader. You're leading yourself, and you're leading an idea that you believe in, that you're gonna go do it. And remember, right? Stories, little bit of mini goals, and you can actually achieve big goals, right? I mean, the world with the internet, right? I mean, you can start a business in no time, really, right?
Or a webinar series.
Right? Yeah, well, that'll be another webinar series, is what I suggest, right? So, and people will get inspired by your story, and maybe you could go pitch to Kickstarter.com. People want to buy your story, right? And people want to buy the innovation that you just created. It's so much easier now. Barrier to investment is so much lower now. You don't have to have a lot of money to invest in Kickstarter.com, right? Go research that. So much opportunities. But only if you work on it a little bit at a time. It's very easy to just, let the time slip. Time is what you can't buy. I wish I can turn my clock back to where I am, in my 20s, right? I can be doing so many things, right? But now I have a lot of responsibility, family, home. I don't have as much, freedom as I would like it to. But now that my kids are a little bit older, I think I'm regaining some of my freedom. Hence, these videos and these things that I wanted to do. Now I'm, redoing, trying to do something that I really love to do that I've been putting off for a long time.
Yeah.
But take the opportunity to go do stuff. It doesn't have to be big, right?
Well, I think that
Get
the most
friends
important
together.
I think that the most important thing that you said was that everything comes out of like hardships. So right now everyone's going through a hardship, or even not even now, even before. Think about a time that you were struggling with a project, and that could be a story and on what you did to persevere, to keep going, to figure it out, to ask for help, for whatever. Um, that's something that you have to look at a problem and be like, wow, I actually went through this and this made me the person who I am now. And I think that's very important for employers and anybody you meet, right?
Yeah, nothing ever is a straight road and a cookie cutter textbook, right? That's, it's a life lesson that you're going to learn throughout your life. And also, when you work in a big company too, right? You have to solve some of the problems that it's not just technical elements alone, right?
Yeah.
If it was just technical elements, it's, pull up a textbook and you can theorize and all that. But a lot of time it's problem with people, it's problem with the business situation. So you're gonna have to learn how to adjust, how to solve these problems, right? And when the future employer sees this, that you don't give up, you just because the going get tough doesn't mean that you throw your towel and give up. They don't want to, you know, you know, I don't want to hire somebody like that. You give up easy, right? I want to hire somebody who just persevere, who just doesn't give up. You just work at it one thing at a time. Ask for help, like Talia says, right? Because the problems are so complex, and that's where your ability to collaborate with people, your ability to communicate with people, your ability to, rally your troops and you rally your team to solve the bigger problem, right? Is not all about you. It's about the problem that you're going to solve for the business, right? The side effect of it is when this succeed, you're going to gain, I'm going to guarantee you're going to gain huge benefit because you solve it. You take your team along with that journey and your team succeed, right? It's not just about you, it's your team. Even more important now because the problems are so complex and so huge, right? One person cannot solve it. And this is why I keep emphasizing get a bunch of friends because the diversity of thoughts and the ideas are flowing. And when you bounce the ideas, even this video, Talia and I bounce ideas back and forth. And, we each have a value that we bring to the table, right? To make it so much richer because, I don't, my view could be very different from yours. But then there's a common point where we converge and came up with these beautiful ideas, right?
But just the whole point of telling your story, it's kind of coming to a common ground where you feel connection with someone and can get things done.
And we tell a story all the time, right? Every time we talk to our friends, talk to our parents, we tell a story all the time unconsciously. You don't think, you tell a story. But the way you tell a story, I always keep it like very honest, right? I think honest story, whether you're not honest or not. And to me, when I talk to the clients, I don't try to sell them. I try to say the technology as it is, what it can do, what the future aspirations are for this technology. Because if you oversell and you can't deliver, the client's gonna see through that. Yeah. So honesty to me is very, very important, right? Same thing going on an interview. You don't need to oversell it. Just be yourself. And when you had these portfolios that you just bottled up, the story will naturally flow.
Do you want to talk a little bit about like defining your story or trying to how to find your story or the differences in storytelling on like online versus an interview versus a cover letter or
know your audience, right? Who is that other person that is interviewing you, for example, right? Try to put yourself in their shoes, right? why would I want to hire Wendy? Why would I hire Talia? What sets you apart from everybody else, right? Imagine they get thousands of resume all the time, right? What sets you apart? And I've always coached you, Talia, right? The resumes, employer managers get, hundreds and hundreds of, by the time it gets to the manager's desk and by the time they get to interview, they've already reduced to a few, because humans cannot read so many, even 100 resumes a lot, right? But I've always coached you, in addition to the resume, these technical skills, and write a story. It doesn't have to be maybe a Word document, maybe, 2 pages, double space or whatever. Tell your story, what sets you apart, a little bit about your background, where you are, and Talia, you are the first generation, in your family that went to college, let alone be in STEM. And woman, you got a lot of firsts going on, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot to overcome. And the employer's going to see that, wow, I want to hire that person because I need that type of DNA that's missing in my team.
Yeah.
Right? I want that point of view that's missing in my team. They want to fill a gap. And it's very hard to come across from a very functional resume, right? Before they even get to talk to you, Talia, they already know a little something about you. You want to make them easy for them. Yes, they can Google you. Yes, they can go on LinkedIn. Yes, they can go read about it. But you want to make their job easy for them, right?
Yep.
By providing them a content that's easy to digest. And it doesn't have to be a long-winded story. You know what I mean? And I think a person cannot digest more than 3 points in a given story. Say 3 points, what you're going to say the 3 points, and then conclude with the 3 points. It's a practice that I always do.
But come from an honest point of view and genuine. And I feel like as a student, especially, when you first said tell your story, I was kind of a little bit nervous, and I was like, oh my gosh, why would I want to do that? Like, that sounds so uncomfortable. But after a while, you start to think about the times that shaped you as a person, or in school, or the problems that you faced on a project or something. And then you start to be a little bit more comfortable with yourself, and then explaining that to people. And the more comfortable you are, I feel like the more genuine it is, and the more people can understand where you're coming from and why you want this job, or why would this be a good fit, or why you want to work on that project.
Yeah. I think people. I think human beings are suckers for a good ending. Excuse my language, but they love good ending. There's a huge problem in the beginning. It's like a climax, right? You're gonna tell, oh, I've got such a problem with this on this project, whether it's technical problem or I had this difficulty with this professor or this teammate that's solving this problem with me. And then you want to end with a good story. People love a good ending, especially love story, right? And you want to leave it to the end, even though, here are the process you went through, even though I had such a difficult problem. I didn't agree with my professor, but I made my point, and here's the data. And then here is we were able to come to an agreement, and we actually our paper got selected to this conference. What a great feeling. Even though we had a disagreement, but we worked it through, and here is the outcome. People love to hear those stories, right? Because if you just say a trophy, oh, I got all this award, that, this award and all that, but you didn't fill in the blanks of how the person goes through the journey. It's boring. You know what I mean?
It's very cookie cutter.
It's drama. Yeah, it's the drama that sells it. I mean, even you watch the dramas, right? The twist and turn and the plot and who's the you need a good and an evil person, and that yin and yang that's push and pull, right? And then you come into a resolution at the end. People love that, and then when you tell that story, you remember that, right?
Yeah. So I know that there's differences in telling your story, and I kind of broke them down in my point of view of being telling your story in 3 to 5 minutes to a person that you meet, or telling your story on social media, or like almost like you always tell me, branding.
Yeah.
Um, there's also telling your story in an interview or other ways, but there's always an opportunity to tell your story and connect with
Yeah.
somebody.
And I always try to, layer it, right? I think even like blogs, so I'm actually working on a blog, right? They said that blogging is you got to blog short stories, but blog often
Yeah.
because people don't have a lot of attention span. So that's one of the techniques to have, blogs to be more attractive. More people want to read your blog, right? And then you also have to say, why should people read your blog? What value do you bring, you know, to to the table, to the people who are reading your blog, right? Be have empathy towards the person who is going to interview you, or empathy to the person of the audience that's listening to you. Um, why should you listen to this person, right?
Yeah.
And then they also say like expressions, hand gestures are very important. Smile a little. When you're in a live audience like 200, 300 people, the way you do it is different for each medium. And I guess we can deep dive into each of these techniques at some later video, or maybe we'll have a webinar, a Q&A. How do you do it? And maybe we can watch a TED Talks as how come this person does such a very effective talk, right? What is it about this TED Talk that is so compelling? Maybe we can have a group discussion and have a point of view. And, maybe we can have our own, storytelling sessions. Each one of us could come and tell a story. And then, we could have like a critique of, well, I thought, you did well, but here is something that you can improve. Or maybe like a live sessions that we can help each other give feedback, because I think feedbacks are enormously valuable. Just as Talia and I need feedback for these videos, right? What you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. And feedbacks are enormous because that's
what do
how
you want more of.
Yeah, and how you can improve, right? And you tweak it. And I think feedbacks are very precious. Same thing with when you are working, in the future, you're going to work in a corporate environment, right? The feedback from your manager, don't think of it as a criticism, but think of it more of a valuable insights that someone is giving you, taking the time to give you, that you can improve on. And of course, you didn't like it in the beginning, but you think about it, wow, this is such an enormous value. If the feedback you believe is not right, here's an opportunity to correct that person's perception of you. So you can use that as a tool. This is not what I meant, but I do realize that you felt that way about me, or you felt that way that I'm not performing. You want to catch that early on, before the end of the year, when your manager gives you an assessment, or your professor give you an assessment at the end. You don't want to be caught off guard at the end. You want to have mini feedback throughout your project
and be open.
To see where your professor are they on the same page as you, and course correct it all the time. It's very much needed.
And that's a perfect opportunity to tell your story, right? Where if someone's coming to you with criticism or a suggestion, that's a perfect opportunity to tell your story. Well, why did I do it like this? I'm so sorry. This is what I meant. This is my story, which is like very important, because telling your story, you have to understand like, what is the purpose of me telling the story? Whether it's me trying to sell myself as an employee, or trying to explain why you did something on a project the way you did, right?
Or something didn't work, maybe your simulation didn't work, and then you had this problem. And I get it all the time, right? On paper, this project should go this way, on this project should take this amount of time. But you all know that
it doesn't.
When Robert hit the note, it never is straightforward, right? Whether it's the environment isn't set up right. Right now, I'm running some stuff on containers, and I didn't know that the machine, the metal underneath wasn't X series; it was something else. So all the details get left out, and sometimes, the software that I was installing on the container didn't work on this platform and had to figure out. So it took me time. And I told the story. I compare, the team that are working on either side. Well, just because you have container doesn't mean that in theory it's supposed to work on these two environment agnostic. But I'm telling you, these two environments are different, and I can't install a certain package because it's not. So telling that technical story and walking through the process that you went through to the team that is supporting these things, right? It's important that you have clarity in telling the story and facts, right? So, and I write down everything. I write down all the things that I've had difficulty, right? And you can turn that into a blog itself too, right?
Yeah.
That you took the time, the process to solve these problems. Maybe there's somebody else who has the same problem. So they read your blog and they can now unblock the difficulty that you had faced, right?
Yeah.
So that's enormous power to you, right? Especially now. Then, when you write a blog, when you have, I don't know, a lot of people reading your blog, that's power, right? That's power to you.
A lot of people reading your story.
Yes.
So I think that the most important thing to learn today is to figure out what kind of message you're trying to say, whether it be different scenarios, and owning your story. And remember to show up and say, "Hi, I'm Talia, and this is my story."
Yeah, and it's catchy, and Talia's always have this. I always remember Talia as very vibrant, energetic, and if she didn't tell me her story, she would be just another person, I wouldn't say. But when you take another layer and unpeel that onion, she is this beautiful, hardworking, wonderful young woman who's got a bright future ahead of her. And I want to help her on that journey.
Thank you. I think it's important to feel confident in your story. Whether you went through something terrible or you had a great life, it doesn't matter. You still have to be comfortable with it and come
to be human. Everybody has, don't think this picture perfect story. Nobody has a picture perfect story. It's a facade, right? When you dig deep, everybody has a story. If you don't have a story, you're not human. And it's my mom always said, life is a up and down. It's like a sine wave. It's just.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking.
You have ups and downs, and how do you get over them? It's practice. A lot of live practice sessions, and deal with it. And how do you deal with it? You have people in your family that loves you. Your friends that are really honestly, without judgment. Those are the good friends that you can just confide in. You can cry together, laugh together, but there's always someone that is willing to listen to you. And she herself also gone through the same thing, right? Nobody is ever perfect in real life.
And don't try to be perfect. Don't.
No. I mean, it's baby step, right? But it's the accumulation of all your successes is what you should feel proud of, right?
Yeah.
And take people along with your happiness factor, right? How did you do that? And we hope that this is what Talia and I are trying to do, is through our life experiences, our successes and failure, that we can learn, and we can learn from each other, right? It's our mission, and there's so much power to you because to us, right? The world will be a different place tomorrow, and that is my hope, right? It's one little bit at a time.
One connection at a time, right?
Yeah, one connection at a time, right? What my hope is.
Well, we hope that this inspires you to own your story and feel confident in yourself enough to tell it to whoever you want.
And you can tell, you can tell the two of us, right?
Yeah.
We'll hear.
We'll create a little space on the website. You can just go on there and tell your story if you're confident or not confident, or want to Just tell
There's
something.
always a first. There's always a first. And, practice, I always a firm believer in practice, practice, practice. And I had a lot of practice. And Talia, I'm sure you had a lot of practice. We wouldn't be here if we hadn't had a lot of practice in the past, right?
Well,
So
thank
join
you
us
so
and
much.
tell your story. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.